Now, I wanted to ask you about one of your pipeline projects in Alaska that was really seen to perhaps de-lever some of the key risks that you did face in terms of investor sentiment because of that PNG exposure. Are you concerned at all, though, that because of the timing, because of COVID-19, a lot of global players are looking to sell off LNG assets, that it might become incredibly difficult for you to sell off that 15% stake, considering the competition that there will be in terms of other companies trying to find buyers for their assets?
That's a good question. Look, there'll always be buyers with good quality assets. And one of the things about our Alaskan asset is that certainly that it's, the resources increased since we've taken over by a material level. We've been able to look at how we break down our costs, how we decrease the capital. And so we'll be relaunching that divestment following our strategic review in November. But we're confident there's a lot of interest already in that project, given the scale of the upside. And it's also its proximity to infrastructure.
Keiran, talk to us about the outlook from here. Clearly, you've just come through a really, really challenging period. I think the past 6 months of your life could very well be the most interesting chapter of your career book. But when you look at the numbers here, 86% fall in first half profit, the stock's down about 60% year to date. How are you shoring up operations and growth prospects in this environment when we still see oil prices down double digits year to date?
Okay, look, it's been an incredible 6 months. Someone asked me how I was enjoying being a CEO, and I said it's like having 100 years of experience. But look, we very quickly focused on making sure that the company was resilient. We strengthened the balance sheet early with a $700 million capital raise. We made sure that every single share went to our shareholders so that there was minimised dilution. We also looked at what the company required going forward. So we, in many ways, took not advantage, but we used the downturn to really stress test the organisation going forward. There are lots of lessons. We need to make sure that we're able to fund our growth projects quite clearly, but also make our existing projects as commercially viable as possible. So we've done many, many things. We've also did a major reorganisation, which was no company likes doing that. And frankly, when you let go 34% of your very loyal staff, it's something that cuts deeply. But we did that with a lot of respect for our employees. We provided long-term support for retraining and also support for their medical and health and children's education going forward. So look, we've done many things in the last 6 months, but most importantly, we've improved the resilience of the company to be able to not only succeed at these lower oil prices, but also focus on how we deliver our growth projects. And the phasing of Alaska is a demonstration of how we've reduced CapEx. We're reducing the break-even price, and so that project can go ahead at lower prices.
And Keiran, just clear something up for me. I know in the chaos of literally trying to save the business throughout this period, the AFR reported that you had considered selling off a stake in the crown jewel. This is the PNG LNG asset, but instead you decided to move ahead with a capital raise, even without the support of the cornerstone investor of yours, Mubadala, out here in Abu Dhabi. Why was that the right decision, and would you still consider selling off part of the crown jewel as the AFR described it?
Look, there are no sacred cows, and there shouldn't be any sacred cows in an organisation. For us, it's about value for our shareholders. And divesting an asset of the quality of PNG LNG, which is really a world-class asset, incredibly low cost base and highly profitable, you don't do it when you're stressed. You do it in a measured way. There's a lot of interest in that asset, but that's not to say at some particular point in time in the future we may consider divesting that asset, or not the whole of it, but a part of it to a strategic investor that adds value. But importantly, we didn't need to do it at that time. You don't, unless you absolutely have to. You hold on to world-class assets. You don't get them very often, and we're lucky enough to have two in our portfolio: our LNG assets in PNG and our oil assets in Alaska. So we thought about it. There were some people expressing interest, but what we did in the end was a placement and rights issue, for our shareholders. And what we felt was the best way was to protect our shareholders by ensuring that every single share went to our existing shareholders to minimise their dilution, and that way they could maintain their involvement in these world-class assets when they went around. So that was the rationale at that time.